Then things just disappear on me. Me and technology. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, tonight's topic is just what does it mean to be awake anyway? Oh, well, I guess it's the opposite of that. The opposite of being asleep, huh? So I thought it'd be good to start with what's not being awake, which is being asleep, which is being unaware, perhaps not on the path, etc. Let's just start with asleep. Why would we be asleep? Well, we could be asleep, because one, we're not getting enough sleep, right? A lot of us are walking around just a zombie because we're not getting enough sleep. We're not getting enough rest. We are not shutting down in order to rejuvenate so that we can think properly, make good decisions, use logic. We're just kind of barely making it from getting up in the morning and brushing our teeth if we're lucky and getting to work and get the kids to school, all those things. We're not able to really think or plan beyond the immediate what needs to get done right now. So again, part of being asleep is because literally you're tired. It also has to do with nutrition. If you are not feeding your body properly, it's going to be tired. It is not going to have the energy to do the work that it needs to do, and that includes your brain. And just, you can say, well, calories are food. Calories is what the body uses. That is correct. But it is also the caliber of the nutrition, of the calories that you're using that make a difference. And simple analogy, your car uses fuel, right? It uses a liquid fuel. And you wouldn't put water in it. You wouldn't put milk in it. You wouldn't put juice in it. You put gasoline in it because, yeah, those other things are fluid and they're not combustible. So I guess maybe that's not a good analogy. But the point is that you want to put the right thing. Oh, here's a good example. Water, it'll take you a little time to do this, but boil some water, microwave a different batch of water, and then just plain from your tap or filter water. So you have 3 separate bottles of water, 3 different plants, water one with the boiled water, water one with the microwaved water, and water one with just your plain tap water. See what happens over time. That's what you're doing to yourself. You are basically feeding yourself microwaved water when you don't use nutrition in a good way. So you're asleep because you don't having time. You're asleep because you don't have nutrition. You're asleep because historically the powers that be have not wanted you to be awake. It did not serve people in charge, people that we might want to call the elite, people that are, the 1%, all these terminologies that we talk about, to have an educated general populace, and that's you and me. And this has been going on for a very long time. Remember, you weren't allowed, well, if you even knew how to read, which that wasn't taught to everybody, but even if you knew how to read, you were discouraged, actively discouraged from reading the Bible yourself. Why? Ooh, just saw an orb go by. Why is that? Why would it matter that you understand what is proclaimed to be the Word of God? Why would it hurt anyone for you not to have that knowledge of what's in that book? There are all kinds of examples of this purposeful keeping us asleep. But that's really not what we're talking about tonight. I just wanted to put that forth to you. Education itself is not designed to teach you to think, and it has deteriorated from the time that it started. Public education started here in the United States in the late 1800s, and some of the bigwigs, one of those fancy names, the Rockefellers and all, Astors and all those people. I forget which one. There was one family that was really involved with creating public education. Were they doing it for you? No, they were doing it for them because they wanted tools. They wanted bodies to walk into their factories and do their work because they didn't have automated machines like we do now. So they needed bodies. And they didn't want bodies who could think. They wanted bodies that would just go in, do what they're told, and go home. They actively, right, when unions started coming around, that was actively suppressed because you weren't considered human. You were just a body to push a button, work a loom, do a press, whatever your job was. So education was designed to make you compliant, to separate you from your family, and that is, if there are, it's out there. If you study the history of education, there's actually a very easy book called "Dumbing Us Down," literally called "Dumbing Us Down" by John Taylor Gatto. That's a quick way to kind of get your foot in this door. They actively wanted to separate you from your family because then you're not only a tool, a viable tool, non-thinking tool, you're also at their mercy in terms of time. They could ship you off somewhere else. They could make you work all night. You're not part of your family. You don't have that family unit that you feel attached to. So being tired, not having enough time, not having the right nutrition, the historical component of wanting us not to be awake, and education, which of course is a part of the historical thinking, not wanting us to be awake, but that was more towards, because we wanted this to be bodies. So there are a lot of reasons why you might not be awake. TV. You get all your information from TV. Now, there's some good programs out there. But if you don't know how to think, do you know how to determine which one is good? Which one is valid? Which one is giving you good information? Possibly, possibly not. Trauma. You have trauma in your life. We all have trauma, but to varying degrees. And we respond and live our lives differently based on how awake we are, and how we respond, and how we manage our day-to-day lives with this trauma when it's unresolved. Of course, we can heal trauma, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about unresolved trauma that drives us. People tend to find ways to self-medicate, tend to want to have things stay the same because then they feel safe. You've got trauma, you don't want a lot of change in your life, right? You want things to kind of, be okay. And so, and even if no change means a lot of change, i.e., you're somebody that never stays put. You're always traveling, you're always changing boyfriends, you're always changing jobs, you're always changing cars, changing apartments. But that's a constant. You're not looking for change. Change is your constant. You're looking for a constant. You want things to stay the way they are because that's what you understand. That's what you embrace. That's what you accept. That's what you feel comfortable with. So here again, how awake are you? So what does it mean to be awake? Well, for starters, of course, you're using a logical mind, and you are considering all the factors and all the facts as you know them to make a good decision. You're not flying off the handle and just believing what you see. Well, my friend said this, the TV said that. My pastor said this, my parents said that. You're recognizing that no one person knows everything. So yeah, maybe your pastor did tell you a truth, but does he know everything? No, I don't. Einstein didn't. Nobody does. So anybody that's giving you information, they're giving it to you from their perspective and their understanding and their own agenda, which may or may not involve something positive for you. So you're discerning about what you are told, what you see, what you hear, what you read. And you start, as you become discerning, you start recognizing when something rings true or untrue or hollow or perhaps missing details. You see this, I see this. People will make a statement, a fact, and then you ask them to elaborate. Okay, well, where did you get that information? Or what year did that happen? Or, okay, I think that happened, but what about the there, when you start questioning what somebody says, not because you want to like shame them, but because if you're going to inhale that information, you want to put some skin in the game in understanding it and examining it before you make it part of your being and part of your reality. As you go along on the awakened path, in my opinion, part of it very much has to do with understanding who you truly are, which I believe. I don't believe. I know. I know. And you can say to me, Karen, that's what you believe, and that's not what I believe. And that's okay. That's you being discerning. That's you not accepting what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying is true is that you are so much more than that physical body that you drag out of bed in the morning and whose teeth you brush and who you may or may not be giving good nutrition to, etc. You are so much more than that. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience, and you are living forever, and this earthly life is but a piece of that. When you recognize that, that changes your whole perception on how you live, right? And if you accept that you live for eternity, and though that only a portion of that life is here on earth in this particular physical being, this physical realm, this physical experience, this physical density, then you consider that perhaps there's life elsewhere, right? Because you're now considering that there's life beyond life. And so that means that perhaps, and again, you're going to explore this yourself, right? You're not going to take my word for it. Perhaps when your Aunt Sue talked about her husband coming to visit to her years after he had passed, you go, well, if we do live forever, I guess that's possible, isn't it? Could be. We've all heard ghost stories, many ghost stories. I personally have tons of ghost experiences. So again, I know that they exist. I have tons of experiences with spirits who we would not term as being ghosts. So I know that there is life beyond life. I know that there is life beyond this realm, beyond this earth, that there are beings from all over the universe. I recognize that I don't even know what the universe is. Who does? I really don't think that anybody does, besides the creator of it. You'll know more the more you advance, the more we traverse the realms, the more we understand it. But there's always more and always more and always more and always more and always more. So truly, am I ever going to really get it? No, no, no. Am I okay with it? Yep. Doesn't bother me a bit. I like the adventure. I like the exploration. I like learning of new things. I love having debates, not heated debates, but I love having debates with others about anything of, especially if it's of some value. I mean, we could debate all day about the color blue. That would get boring. But on any topic that has some substance to it, you know, a virtue, love, um, ghosts, education, agriculture, whatever. And sometimes it can get a little heated, of course, not that you want it to, but it does. But for me, it's not about getting angry with the person. It's about it's about really feeling strongly about my position, but yet listening to what that other person is saying and going, "Huh, I never thought of that one. I wonder if I can put that in my toolbox, and if that'll help me to expand my understanding." And here's the thing: you can try on something that somebody tells you, put it in your toolbox, see if it fits with your stuff, and if it doesn't, give it back. You don't have to keep it, right? You're free to change your mind at any time. So say you don't believe in ghosts. Okay. I'm telling you, I've had very many experiences with ghosts, and I'm sure there's hundreds of books out there about ghosts, and certainly there are movies and stuff. Although a lot of the shows that I've seen, I'm looking at, I'm like, what? That's not how I see it. But of course, my experience is different than others, and I'm not putting on a TV show, so I guess it doesn't have to be it's not maybe as dramatic as they need it to be if it's going to sell tickets. Um, so, for example, I'm telling you this, and you can say, I have never, I always thought there was a bunch of hooey. I don't believe in ghosts. But maybe, just maybe, Karen is right. Maybe there are. And walk with it for a while. Surprisingly, often you will see little affirmations, little signs, little things that'll help to sway you one way or the other. You go, huh, isn't that interesting? Now that I'm thinking about this, these facts are showing up for me. Facts isn't the right word. These tidbits are showing up for me. Maybe I want to explore this some more. And then you do your exploration and make your own decision. Independent investigation of truth. That's your job. That is your job while you are here. Independent investigation of truth. You believe what you believe, not because somebody told you to believe it. You believe it because you investigated it yourself. The things that have tried to hold you down, when it's time for you to awaken, you're going to stand up for yourself, stand up for who you are. Say, I'm not taking this anymore. I am not a small, miserable, tired, poorly nourished person dwelling on material things that I can't take with me and really serve me nothing. They all serve my body, but they don't serve my soul at all. I'm more than that. I'm much more valuable and much more precious than that. And I want to learn more about myself, about the universe, about where I'm going, how I got here, why I'm here. I want to celebrate your true being, your true self, your true reality, the glory of you. All of you. We are all glorious beings, currently having this earthly experience, which can be quite traumatic, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to shut you down. You can overcome your traumas and find a way to awaken who you are. Do the best for yourself. Find a way to rise above. And when somebody posts some crazy thing from, that says, about some conspiracy or something or whatever, of course you can discount it out of hand and be like, that's a bunch of hooey. Or you can ask the person, why do you believe that? Where'd you get your facts? Would you share that with me? I'd like to read that book. I'd like to learn what you learned. And so I can make a decision for myself. That doesn't mean that you're going to believe them or agree with them. But this is somebody you're talking to, possibly somebody that you care about, maybe somebody in your family, maybe your partner, maybe your child. You don't have to agree with them, but you can have a conversation with them and ask intelligent questions. Don't shut them down. Ask questions. And you might find out something. And they might find out something. Because you can share why you don't believe. And who knows? You might teach them something too. Awakening is really, bottom line, is finding out who you are. Awakening to your own glory and not accepting any secondhand garbage from anyone. Honoring yourself. Hi. Is it ever for a particular purpose for someone to wake up more slowly or have their full awakening delayed? Yes. Yes. Good question. Are there any more? Is it ever for a purpose? Everything is for a purpose. Everything. I have 1,000 examples and I can't think of one at the top of my head. Actually, maybe I can. Today was kind of an interesting day. Lots of things. But I worked with a client, and I typically don't do client work on weekends, certainly not on Sundays. Not because it just typically doesn't happen on Sundays, unless we're on retreat or something. And this person's brother had passed very traumatically and dramatically, and they had a resolution, and it was just beautiful the way that it came about. And then we had to take a break because that person needed to marinate in that for a while. And I said, okay, we'll finish the session. Call me back in an hour. We'll finish the session. So I go upstairs, and my husband and his son are getting ready to leave. We live on a reservation in Wisconsin, and they were getting ready to leave to go to a different reservation here in Wisconsin. And there were some issues that they were wanting to work with that particular tribe. And anyway, so they're getting ready, and I came upstairs, earlier than I was supposed to because I was, I had that person we had to take a little break, and I'm standing there and I feel this heaviness, and I'm somebody's with me, somebody's standing with me. It makes me want to cry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so heavy. What's going on? And at first I thought, is it that man that I worked with before? I thought, no, he's okay. He's doing good. So it's not him. But it was somebody that like having that energy come while I was working with that earlier case, that vibration they aligned with. Now, again, if you're not, quote, awakened, you might be going, what is she talking about? But it's okay. Just listen to me. You don't have to believe me. Just listen. And that we have this big, beautiful piece of art with a native man, very elegant and just powerful. And not elegant like Cary Grant, but elegant as in he is who he is, and he stands tall, and he is with himself. He is with the earth, and he has this beautiful eagle on his shoulders. standing over him. And like, I felt that force there. And this being is like, okay, and he had some kind of traumatic thing similar to what had happened to this man earlier. He didn't share what it was. It doesn't matter. But I could feel that there's something like that similar to him. And then he tells me that he's Native American. And then I tell my husband, I'm like, there's something going on here. You need to be aware of this. I know you guys are going for this issue, but something is going on with this other issue, and that has to do with where you're going. And bless my husband. he's seen what comes out of what I learn enough times. I mean, he's always been a believer. I mean, he was awake before we met. So anyway, and then they're getting their shoes on and they're getting ready to walk out the door. And I said, oh my gosh, he's telling me he's coming with you. He's going with you. This guy's going to go with you. He's going to be flying over the top of the car. He's not going in the car. He's going to be above the car. And then just as early, he's saying he's heartfelt. He wants to help his people. So I'm getting that he's a Native person. Was that a coincidence? No, it wasn't a coincidence. Everything always happens for a reason. There's always it's the right time. It's the right situation. So you're an awakened person, so we're not going to pick on you. We're going to pick on Joe Blow, who is not awake, right? And maybe it's your brother or cousin or something, and you've been like for years been like, oh, this person is just, he won't wake up. What you don't know is why. I mean, you can hazard a guess or two, formulate some opinion. But in the bigger scheme of things, remember, we're eternal beings. In that bigger picture, you don't know what's going on, who he's affecting, what he's doing, who he's helping, not helping, what is. Remember, every pebble has ripples. You don't know what ripples he's causing in the cosmic matrix. Everything is connected, that are affecting things. And then later down the road, you can look back and go, oh, that makes sense. And if you have eternity, that means that this experience on Earth is a drop in the bucket, a drop in the ocean. And of that drop in the ocean, if you spend 40 years asleep, so what? So what? The important thing is that you get there. Your responsibility is to get there. If there's somebody that isn't getting there, there may very well be a good reason. You just do your best and be open to that person. And again, engage with them, have conversations. Maybe they will, maybe they won't understand. But don't drive them away because they're not awake and they don't get it. I mean, obviously, if they're being abusive to you, that's a different situation. But if they're willing to have a conversation with you, have a conversation. I still feel like my full awakening is to come. Well, so is mine. So is any soul that you can think of anywhere in the universe, of any realm, of any level, is not God. God is the only one that is fully awakened. So enjoy the ride. Enjoy the experience. You're never going to be fully awake. Don't beat yourself up because you're not, because you're never going to be. You're just never going to be. And I find that exciting because I don't want to be fully awakened, because then what? Boring. I like the journey. I like the process. I like the tears and the laughter and the stumbling and the joy and the big steps and the little steps and the steps backward. It's all good. It's learning, and I awaken more and more. As awake as I am at this point, I still have little earthly human child stuff. I just had a beautiful child within experience, inner child thing, I don't know, just like 3 days ago. You'd think by now I'd be done with all that. I've been on this journey a long time. I've been awake a long time. But I'm awakening more and more. So you are too. We all are. I feel like many of our something are being saved for some purpose. I feel like many of our are being saved for some purpose. I mean, I could hazard a guess as to what the missing word is, but maybe you should tell me that I can answer it correctly. Right, I get what you mean, that we are never done. I'm not sure I'm expressing it right. Yeah, okay. Do you mean in terms of earthly? Okay, to wake up more. Oh, is there ever a particular? Okay, I still feel like my full awakening is to come. You know who I love and who I look forward to getting excited, kind of, sort of similar to, is old people, old awake people. They have that calmness, that self-assuredness, that peace, that wisdom. They don't need to even say much, right? You can feel their energy, and they are it. They are love. Maybe that's what you mean when you're just walking in that way. Nothing really gets to you. You are at peace with everything, with yourself, with the world around you. You don't get phased. You don't get triggered. Yeah, I'd like to be there too. But that takes time. It takes time. And, as Garrison Keillor says, age and wisdom don't always go hand in hand. Sometimes age arrives alone. Not everyone gets wisdom. That's okay. It's always the next world. Not that that's an excuse. If you are aware that there is such a thing as awakening, and you are aware that you are not awake, then it is your oh, there went another orb. It is your responsibility to do it. But if you're not aware, you're okay. I met many of our earthly people's awakenings are being saved or delayed for reasons. Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's like if this isn't the greatest example, but it's the one I can think of at the moment. If all of a sudden our air was perfectly pure, just like that, I don't know if we can handle it. Or if all of a sudden there was no war in the whole world ever again. Are we ready for that? There are a lot of people whose livelihoods are tied into that military complex, right? Or all of a sudden we have no more disease. How many people do you know that are in medicine, in Western medicine, around the world, in research, in production, in administration, in delivering, in testing? Are we ready to do that? Are we ready to all of a sudden be healed from that? I think that we have fallen way down from where we were years ago, millennia ago. And much as we would just love to just pop right back and be all spiritual and living godly lives, there is wisdom. Again, I love that word. in it being a process, and it being an unfolding rather than a light bulb on and off, right? It's unfolding, and we are learning, and we are finding ways to navigate through this, and we're having to do the work. It's not going to just be handed to us. We're doing the work. So you and me and anyone else who is on this path, it's your job and your bounty blessing to put out that energy so that others can start feeling it and others can start awakening. Maybe some people's journey is not to be awake in this life, don't you think? Yeah, exactly. Remember, that's what I was saying. It's okay if you don't wake up, but if you know that you should, well, that's different. But and again, it's not like you're gonna like get in trouble or anything, but there are plenty of people who are just never gonna get the memo, and that's okay because we live forever. Some people couldn't survive a quick flip. No, no. And much as we'd like to think that we could, I don't know, could we? I mean, really, the world would be so different than we understand it to be now. Was that a proper sense? The world would be so different than the way in which we navigate now. I mean, there would have to be so many changes made in so many areas. Like education. If all of a sudden we were awakened, the whole educational system would have to change. Agriculture would have to change. Everything would have to change. And much as we like it, it's going to take time. There was somebody posted an article on Facebook yesterday, I believe, about a white man who was the captain or whatever, lieutenant, whatever. I don't know those ranks, but he led the first all black Union infantry group. Is it called a group? No, whatever it's called. And died in the South along with other members of his troop. And the Confederates apparently, this is just what I read in this article, whether it's true or not, I don't know. I didn't do that research. So you can do your own. And I have meant to look that up because I found it fascinating. But the point is, so he was left. He wasn't given a burial. He wasn't shipped home. He was left in a mass grave with these African American soldiers that were under his lead. And his father said that it was meant as an insult by the Confederates, right? They thought, how insulting for a white man to be buried with a bunch of black men. But his father said, no, what better place for him to be than with the people that he cared for and cared for him. And I thought, now that's what they ought to be teaching in school. Who cares what year the Civil War started, or what year that it ended, or how many people died, or how many this and that? I mean, we need to know those things. But the beautiful stories that come out of that, the learning, the reaching, the beauty, those are the things that we should be learning about. It would change the hearts, right? If you're learning about compassion and understanding of others, right? You're learning about how other people have been compassionate, how other people have stepped up, how other people have done. If that's what you're learning in school, rather than, Joe Schmo killed, he was the best sharpshooter and he killed so many people. That's not very uplifting. And that's what you're aspiring to because you think that's the thing that's important. So when we awaken, we got to change everything. And it'll be a beautiful journey. It'll be a beautiful process. It'll probably happen quicker than we think it could, but it still has to happen. Okay, maybe some people's journey. Okay, yeah, okay. Some people couldn't survive. You're welcome to me. That's beautiful. Such an enlightened way to rise above the tragedy and honor his son. Yes, I thought so. I hope it's a true story. I don't even know if I can find it again. I was thinking I would do a Google search. Just put in who was the leader of the first African American infantry troop. Maybe I could find it that way. I'll find out if it's true or not. Do my own investigation. So I'm sharing that story with you as maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But the point that I'm making with that story is still true, is relevant to your awakening. Okay. I I don't know how long the delay is on here. I'm new to YouTube, but thank you for being with me tonight. As I said, my husband is not. He is still out at that other reservation with his son, and hopefully they're having great success in reaching and touching others' hearts and sharing what they want to share, right? And the outcome we have to be detached from. All we can hope for is that we can touch another's heart. So if we're ready, there's so much conflicting information out there. Any tips on figuring out who is telling the truth? Well, that's just it. You got to do the research. You got to do the research. You got to, and it's not always easy. Sometimes you got to find that one little loose string, like, and try and pull it out and follow it back and see, okay, it says this guy's name. And okay, so look up that guy and see who he really was. See if he even really existed. And who was he? What did he do? You just got to kind of pick it apart and find what facts you can and try and, there's a word, determine whether they're true. Oh, I can't believe I can't think of the word. Yeah. There's so much information out there, you could spend your whole life doing this, right? So you got to pick the things that are important to you, or pick the things that you um, feel could be true. Another orb. Yay. Pick the thing that could be true, that you want to be true, or that you want to be false, or that in your heart feels false, or whatever. The one that you like need, you're like really, oh, whether you believe it or disregard it, find out if it's true, because it could be that's pushing your buttons because you just don't want to believe it because it's against everything that you've believed before. So check it out. See if it's true or not. So by looking it up, you're not disproving yourself. Maybe you're proving that what you think is right. And maybe you'll find out what you think is askew. Don't be afraid. Remember, you are researching for the glory of you, to stand up for who you are. You don't need to have to accept what other people have said. If you've got the time to do that all day, fine. Otherwise, pick the things that are important to you and see if they're true. I love the topic. Oh, thank you. I did too. So if I like the message, I appreciate it for the message. If it irritates or inflames me, I look to make sure it's true before I let it get my blood boiling. That's a great approach, right? So often we need your go, that can't be true, when we get all blah. Don't let it bother you. If it's true and it helps you awaken and learn something that you didn't know before, be grateful. Don't be like kicking yourself in the butt going, "Ugh," it's okay to be wrong. I really I think we did. We did do a live event on that topic about it being okay to be wrong. We are so afraid to be wrong. It is okay to be wrong. Because if somebody told you that you have to always be right, that you have to be perfect, they're investigate that, because it's not true. Actually, I think it's more has to do with being shamed for being wrong. Like, right? You're in school, you have the wrong answer to the question. Red mark, wrong, being. You come home with a D and you're grounded, or you don't get supper, whatever. We've been punished for being wrong. And so we think we don't want to be wrong. But try it on. It's okay to be wrong. Okay. Cindy, did we get that clarified? The whole um, sometimes you're awaking, when you awake and all that, and hopefully that was answered. I'm gonna go off stage. I'm not on stage. I'm in my room, in a room in my house. I don't have a stage in my house. I'm going to go off screen and say a prayer to align myself. I welcome you, invite you to say a prayer yourself, and I'll be back in a minute, and we will do some healing work, and then we'll call it a night. There you go. You get to try this on. You can believe me or not believe me, but the universe sends healing energy. The universe is energy, right? Right now I'm acting as a reed, so it's a little more concentrated, a little more focused, directed specifically to you, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this 5 years from now. Allow it. If nothing happens, you don't lose anything, right? If you want to argue with me about it, have a debate about it, make some comments. I'd be happy to respond and discuss it with you. But right now, give it a shot. Give it a try. I'm getting all giddy. Whoever else that's succumbing to energy, that just go with it. It's good energy. Laughing is always so good. Doesn't matter if you know what you're laughing about or not. Just do it. All right. Hit that subscribe button, and there's a little bell thingy too that'll tell you when we're going live. Hit that too. I'd appreciate it. You are an eternal being. You are not a finite, mortal, ending being. Your spirit, your real, true you lives forever. The decisions you make today affect you tomorrow and in eternity. You're not stuck by them. You're not bound by them, but still, the more you awaken, the more you come into your true yourself, the further you are along in your real world. So that's why our tagline is think eternal, act now. Till next time, good night.